meeting of the Transportation Committee will now come to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Mr. Ansello?
Here.
Mr. Barker?
Here.
Mr. Baroff?
Here.
Chairman Colby?
Here.
Mr. Gamble? Here. Mr. Patterson?
Here.
Mrs. Valerio?
Is there anyone signed up for public forum?
There is not.
Is there anyone present that would like to address this committee at this time? The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. You have the April 24th minutes for the Transportation Committee before you. They stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. I believe we have Paul Johnson, the Associate Planner for the county's Planning and Economic Development Department, to give a brief overview of the capital improvement plan for 2013 and 18.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All legislators should have a copy of that program that has been submitted by the county executive for your consideration. We followed our normal process in preparing this 6-year program. It has been reviewed and recommended by the Monroe County Planning Board, and as part of their review, they conducted 3 public information meetings to get public input on the program. I would point out that this 6-year program does not include any funding approvals. This is a plan for our investments in over the next 6 years. The first opportunity to fund projects will come in the fall when the capital budget is submitted to the legislature as part of the operating budget, and you will then have before you the 2013 list of projects for funding and bonding approval. You are required under the charter to hold a public hearing, and hopefully you will schedule that and adopt this program in July. There are 2 areas of the program that I want to brief the committee on very quickly. Excuse me. They have to do with the highways and bridges section of the program, which you'll find on page 51. There have been a number of changes to this proposed 6-year program from our adopted program. Most notably, the overall program funding is about 11% lower than last year's program, due principally to reductions in state and federal funding for our highway and bridges projects. A number of the projects have had their funding modified to reflect revised estimates for the cost of the project, as well as updated federal and state aid figures from the Genesee Transportation Council's Transportation Improvement Program. The scheduling of 10 of these projects has actually changed from the adopted program, and those projects have been moved out 1 or 2 years in this 6-year program. There are 2 new projects in the highways and bridges area: the preventive maintenance bridges, rustic rail, and one city street project. The Broadway from South Union to Goodman Street is new for this 6-year program. And in relationship to the city street projects that are in the program, the funding for those has actually been reduced 4.5% from our adopted program. Moving to the other area of interest is the traffic engineering program, which you'll find on page 59. The list of projects is as it has appeared in previous programs, with continuing funding in 4 of the categories, and the Regional Traffic Operations Center Rehabilitation Project appearing as it has previously. Overall, the traffic engineering effort is down almost 1% from last year's program. And that, Mr. Chairman, is a very brief summary of the areas pertinent to the Transportation Committee, and we'd be happy to answer questions when this item comes up on the agenda.
Thank you, Paul. The next item is new business. Madam Clerk.
Referral 12-176.
Moved by Mr. Ansello, second by Mary Valerio. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Referral 12-177.
Moved by Valerio, second by Barker. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Next item, please.
Referral 12-188.
Moved by Barker, second by Ansello. Any questions? Mr. Broth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a couple questions about this. I note that there's an increase in the cost of $270,000, and through you to the administration, I was curious, is the extent of the increase in the cost, or since this was originally begun in 2000, well, I'm not sure when it was originally begun, but is any other additional cost to the net cost aside from the $270,000?
Through the chair, Scott Leathersich with Monroe County Department of Transportation. There were some,
Making sure.
the costs were bid costs that were greater than what was anticipated from our engineer's estimate. So are you looking for specific items or?
Through the chair of the administration, no, I guess my question then is, if I understand correctly then, that the engineers estimated certain costs, but when the bids came in, they were actually significantly higher then. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
And then through the chair of the administration, my final question, is there any anticipation of any additional price increases, perhaps due to iron prices going up or anything like that?
Through the chair, no, we do not anticipate that. These prices, we believe, are good for the construction. We did have these reviewed, despite our engineer's estimate, we did have these reviewed by the New York State Department of Transportation, and they felt they were good prices compared to statewide averages.
Thank you. And finally, I did misspeak, I'm sorry. Through the chair of the administration, what is the approximate timeline of this project?
Through the chair, if we can get this started late June, early July, we can have it completed this year.
December or earlier, I assume?
Earlier,
Okay.
Early November.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Referral 12-189, amend the 2004.
Moved by Legislator Asano and second by Mary Villar. Any questions? Legislator Patterson.
Thank you. Through the chair, given the size of this project, what are the DBE goals and the EEO goals for it?
Through the chair, the DB goals are 9%, and that 9% will be achieved.
Okay, thank you. Currently, there appears to be some work underway on Ridge Road. Who is doing that, and who's paying for that?
Through the chair, the current work underway out there would be private utility work, such as RG&E, Rochester Telephone, et cetera, getting their work done prior to our road work.
Okay, wonderful. I see, through the chair, I see that this bond resolution was originally approved in 2008. If I'm not confused, it's currently 2012. What has been the cause of this unbelievable delay?
Through the chair, delays in the federal funding through the federal program has caused this project to be delayed to this point.
Okay. Through the chair, has this delay resulted specifically in the increased cost of the project and an increased scope of the project?
Through the chair, there's been no increased scope, but costs have increased, primarily asphalt. But other increases have resulted from some design work, or results of design to minimize impacts to adjacent properties.
Through the chair, is it possible to get that information from you guys? Obviously not today, but just really detailing out the cost changes from when this was originally approved versus currently?
Through the chair, yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
Legislator Broth.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I just have one question. I note that there were 5 bids received on May 2nd. Were any other credible bids received during this year's process?
Through the chair, other than what's listed, no.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Referral 12-190, 2000.
Moved by Legislator Villarreal, second by Legislator Barker. Any questions? Mr. Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the administration, first, the new preventative maintenance bridges rustic rail, the addition. Could I get a little description on that first, please? A little more.
Sure. Through the chair, that is a project we amended to the capital budget earlier in this year, or late this year. I'm sorry,
Right.
Earlier this year for the design portion. That project entails some preventative maintenance on 3 bridges and then rustic rail replacement on 2 bridges.
Okay, now, through the chair, thank you. Now, the rustic railing replacement project, which is further down, the funding for that is just the county in 2014 and 2015. And so how are they interrelated?
They are separate efforts, two different programs. Different bridges are included in each program,
Okay.
but similar work.
Similar work? And so we will be undertaking the second one, just ourselves, just county funding.
Through the chair, that should be federal aided as well.
Okay. That's
Is
what
it
I,
the rustic-
Oh, through the chair.
the rustic railing?
I'm reminded that the future work is eligible for federal aid. We are soliciting federal. We hope that it will get federal aid by the time that we build it.
That answers. Thank you.
Any other questions? Legislator Patterson.
Through the chair, if you could, please take a look at the Goodman Street project from Bay Street to Clifford. In the previous year's CIP, this was programmed in for the 2016 year at 1.1 million roughly. For the 2016 cycle, it's now currently programmed in for 832,000. In my short time on this committee, I have never seen the cost of any material go down. Could you please explain this significant cut in funding for this vital artery?
Through the chair, we received those values from the city of Rochester. This is what we call the 131K program. It's where the county helps participate with the city in constructing arterial projects. We program these projects based on their priorities and their cost estimates. So this information is provided by the city.
So in both cases, in these cuts weren't made by the county at all. This is the city saying we'd like to spend less money on these roads. Is that what I understand correctly? Through the chair.
Through the chair, we may work with them on scheduling in our program, but the costs are the city's, correct.
Okay. And so then for the next year, the 2017 year, where it was originally programmed in at 1.2 million and it's now 648 again, that is at the city of Rochester's request?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Through the chair, any idea why they would ask for less money to repair a road?
Through the chair, speculating, they may have altered the scope, but we can certainly reach out to them and find out what their intent is.
Through the chair, I would definitely love to hear why this project has significantly, why the funding on this project has decreased significantly. Again, I've never seen an instance when the cost of anything in road construction went down, unless the economy collapses, and it certainly isn't doing that. So the notion that if you could definitely get that information and get it to us, obviously not today, but I'm very interested in seeing what has changed on this project. Thank you.
Any other questions? Legislator Brock. I'm trying to go back and forth.
Fair enough. Thank you so much. I have several questions. First off, I'd like to ask, when was the CIP approved by the review board, the programming board?
Through the chairman, it was done at their March meeting.
March meeting. And what date was that, sir? Through the chair.
22nd of March. Through
March
the chair.
22nd. And through the chair of the administration, were any amendments made to the CIP booklet since that point in time?
Through the chair, no.
Thank you. I note through the chair of the administration that there was indeed 11% decline in highway and bridges section, and that really is pretty significant. And it was noted that the majority, or in your presentation, you said principally due to state and federal project reductions. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes. If you look at the schedule, you'll notice that the 2018 year has no federal or state funds programmed.
Correct. Thank you. And so just as an estimate, would you, aside if that's principally the cause, of the 11% reduction, give or take, how much of that is coming or the result of reduction in federal or state aid, and how much is the result of other factors?
Through the chair, again, we're comparing this 6-year program total with last year's 6-year total.
I understand.
The county funding is up slightly, but the state and federal funding is down significantly.
Okay. So the vast majority of the 11% then through the chair.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. Also, during your presentation through the chair, you mentioned that 10 projects were moved out in time. Is that noted? And I apologize if it is noted. I could not find where it was noted in which ones were moved out in time in the CIP booklet.
Through the chair, no, it's not in the booklet. You would have to compare the tables. I could run through a quick list of those.
I would appreciate if you could, please. Thank you, sir. Through the chair.
The projects that have had their scheduling changed are the Stone Road project, the Edgewood Avenue Bridge project, the Sibley Road Bridge project, Phillips Road, Coldwater Road over Little Black Creek, the Whitney Road project, the Bowerman Road Bridge, and the Park Road Bridge over around Quake Creek, as well as the Moscow Road Bridge and the Taylor Road Bridge.
Thank you, sir. Through the administration, through the chair to the administration, am I correct to assume that most of these push-outs were based upon an assessment of the need for repair and how long they could afford to wait for further repair or renovation or whatever the case may be?
Takes 3 of them to get that.
Oh, that's been a good one.
Through the chair, the reason for the changes in scheduling of those projects is the availability of federal and state funds.
Yes, but through the chair of the administration, are these federal and state funds specific to individual projects, or are they a pool? I'm seeing a head shake one way.
Through the chair, they are specific to each project.
Thank you.
And the limited availability through the federal program has caused these projects to shift out. This program replicates how they would show up in the Genesee Transportation Council's TIP program.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, then I'm correct to understand that. Is this essentially these changes and push-outs essentially at the, call it, due to availability literally of the federal funding, they choose what will be delayed and what will not be delayed?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. Then moving on to a new topic through the chair of the administration. I wanted to go back to the rustic railing replacement conversation, but I just thought it was a good question. I know that there was a reduction in funding of 30% from last year's CIP, and that we talked about the railing replacement being on 2 bridges. Are those the same? Is the same scope as, for the project, or has the project scope decreased as a result of lack of funding or decreased funding?
Through the chair, yes. The projects that were originally identified in the other project were eligible in the federal aided project, so the scope did decrease, correct?
Thank you. Then through the chair of the administration, what's been eliminated?
Through the chair, nothing's been eliminated. There's just been transferred from the later project to the earlier project, two bridges.
But the same 2 bridges through the chair of the administration that we were going to work on anyhow, correct?
Through the chair, yes.
Thank you. Okay. And my last topic of question, I just want to make sure I had it right. Through the chair of the administration, the Phillips Road, Chalago Road over Little Black Creek lost approximately $1.8 million. Is that correct?
Sorry, which project was that again?
That's the Phillips Road and Chalago Road over Little Black Creek.
You mean Phillips Road, Schlegel Road to Lake Road?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay.
And it's reduced by approximately $1.8 million, correct?
That's correct.
And I assume that, although since it's been pushed out, that is the net result of the loss of the $1.8 million, correct?
This project does not have federal aid assigned to it yet. We're hoping to get that, but we did review the scope of that, and we slightly reduced it a little bit.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, based upon material costs and things like that, I assume?
Well, we believe we can do more of a heavy-duty rehabilitation rather than a full reconstruction.
through the chair of the administration, not for now, since it's clearly not the time, but at some point in time in the near future, I'd appreciate having an explanation of how you came to that determination that a replacement was no longer necessary if before we thought a replacement was necessary. That's very significant to me is all.
Are you satisfied?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Well done, guys.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
We'll do a roll call vote then, please.
Okay. Mr. Ansello?
Yes.
Mr. Barker? Mr. Baroff?
Well, I'm hesitant to say what I have to say.
It's a yes or no question.
Well, I'm
It's-
hesitating then. I have to think about that because it's really kind of a deep question. Since it's the CIP document, and since it's supposed to be a plan, not a binding document, but unfortunately it has some inclusion of language I can't support, I will vote no.
Chairman Colby?
Yes.
Mr. Gamble? Mr. Patterson?
At this time, I would be voting no.
Mrs. Valerio? Yes. Okay, 4-3.
Motion passes. Is there any unfinished business to become before this committee? Seeing none, the May 22nd meeting of the Transportation Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Transportation Committee is scheduled for June 26th